Hey everyone, welcome into Attacking Third for a very special USA Women's National Team recap episode. The USA defeat Iceland 3-1, and we are here to recap it all. Alongside Darian Jenkins and Sandra Herrera, I'm Lisa Carlin. Big win for the US, Darian Jenkins. What are your initial thoughts on this match?
Wow, did the younger players ball out. We needed the injection of some youth, and we got it, and they came out and scored, and I love to see it. I think I was really looking forward to seeing who's going to take advantage of this match, because when you get minutes in games like this where there's not a lot of pressure, it's just a friendly, there's not anything massive coming up, but this is the time where you can really make a name for yourself. And I think the youth, these young guns, came out and balled out. So that was my big takeaway, what I was so hyped to see from this match.
The youth.
Same. Bring them out. Bring them out. That's where I was at. I was like, let's go. Let's have fun with it. And they delivered.
They sure did. It was a really fun match. The USA took on Iceland in their first game since winning gold at the Paris Olympics this past summer. Emma Hayes, in just her 11th game in charge, she picks up another dub for the squad, 3-1 over Iceland. This match took place Thursday night in Austin, Texas at Q2 Stadium, the first of 3 friendlies in this international window. And we are recapping them all. So you can join us live on Golazo Network, post every single U.S. Women's National Team match. We're also available on YouTube and as a podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. Let's dive into it. We have to start with the starting 11 for the United States Women's National Team. They rolled out with some familiar faces and also some players that haven't been in the mix in a while. Let's take a look at the starting 11 for the United States Women's National Team. In goal, it was Alyssa Nair, the gold medalist. Across the back line, Jenna Nightswanger, Naomi Girma, Emily Sonnet, and Emily Fox. In the midfield, Sam Coffey, Lindsay Horan, and Rose Lavelle, with Mallory Swanson, Lynn Williams, and Alyssa Thompson up top. Some notes about this starting 11. Emily Sonnet earning her 100th cap with the U.S. Women's National Team. She becomes the 45th player to do that. 10 players in this 11 were at the Olympics this summer. The only one not there was Alyssa Thompson, and Alyssa Thompson gets her first call up with this camp in over 10 months and her first start since July 2023 versus Wales. This game against Iceland, and these were the 11 that Emma Hayes was going to roll out with. Sandra, when this 11 dropped, which names stood out to you that were going to get the start?
Oh my goodness. I mean, obviously every single Olympian, look, the champions match, it was giving Olympic gold medal celebration. So it wasn't maybe too surprising to see this many players who had Olympic gold medals getting the start out there. But I also thought it was really representative of how difficult it is to name those type of Olympic rosters, because here we saw Alyssa Thompson with this start with these players as well. It's tough to name any type of major roster for an international tournament like the World Cup or an Olympics, but to have to narrow things down a bit because of the Olympic rules in play, you have to wonder Alyssa Thompson, and we could probably list off a flurry of names that maybe fell short of those personal goals to make those type of rosters. So it felt right to sort of see so many, but also have Alyssa Thompson there with the incredible sort of second half of the season performance that she's put together with NWSL reach this moment.
It's a really big deal. Sorry, Lisa, I'm just going to jump in. I think it's a big deal that Alyssa Thompson is the only player that wasn't at the Olympics that got the start. That is a massive, massive note and a big nod to her and all of the work that she's put in and all of the adversity she's faced to come back and have a great pre-match training, the couple of trainings that they've had together, so good that she was the player that got picked to be in that starting 11. I think that's should be a massive confidence booster to her. I think that's a testament to us that, hey, this is the player that's going to be the staple. This is the player that's really taken the hardships and the hard work and put everything into it back onto the field. And we've seen, I think, a new iteration of what Alyssa Thompson can actually bring to the women's national team.
The nod that she gets the start, Alyssa Thompson, Darian, how much did that actually translate in the play that we saw from Thompson?
She was player of the match to me by far. I kept taking notes, and for everyone listening, we were sharing a doc before the match, and we were all kind of like writing the same things about Alyssa Thompson. And for me, she was the player that no one, especially in the first half, could keep pace with her on her own team. She seemed like she was on a different plane than everybody else with her quick movements off of, I'm not even talking on the ball, off of the ball, where she was pulling defenders, checking into space, how quickly she was laying passes off, where she was running as soon as she laid the ball off. She was constantly in dangerous spots that opened up so much, I think, for Emily Fox, for Rose Lavelle over on that right side. And I was kind of thinking like, damn, I really want to see her switch over to the left and cause some problems with Niswanger, Swanson, and Lavelle on that side, because I feel like it just opened up a little bit more over there. And we finally got to see it with the goal, but she just looked like she is in the zone. She looks confident and comfortable and finally back to herself. And her goal celebration was just perfection. I feel like everybody had the same reaction, like, oh,
it was adorable. It was adorable celebration.
Yes. Taking off on a rocket. Let's go.
She's probably got like a foot of elevation there underneath her feet on that jump.
She is a freaking specimen, and I love that we're seeing the results of it come on the pitch.
Yeah, it was very cool to see kind of the fruits of the labor of Alyssa Thompson take off and be able to be executed in this. I love that she got the shout and the start. I predicted her to get the start, not because I anticipated that to happen.
Were you the only one?
Yeah, I think I was.
Yeah.
Good job, Lisa.
But because I wanted her to get the start, she deserved it. She deserved it. She's got 5 goals in her last 8 domestic games with Angel City, and she does it similarly to the way that she scored tonight. She got the opening goal for the United States, and we are going to dive into the analytics of the first half, the second half, the differences, and everything that went down. But I was really surprised to see Thompson start on the right wing, because for club, she mostly plays on the left, and she's able to cut back and score on her right. There was Swanson on the left, though, up top. And we also got to see Sam Coffey play as this singular pivot in the midfield for the U.S. with Lindsey Horan a bit higher. Sandra, when you saw the structure of the midfield for the U.S. and how they were laid out against an Icelandic side that was in a 4-4-2 and had some movement, but when you look specifically at the midfield for the U.S., what did you notice between Horan, Lavelle, and Coffey?
I mean, that this is the unit, right, moving forward and from out of the Olympics and moving forward now. But I thought throughout the game, there were moments where it sort of was feeling, in terms of the eye test, it was like, okay, this is it. These are some of the challenges that this midfield needs to continue to try to sort of figure out, the problem solving that we need to see. This is an Icelandic team that is ranked 13 in the world. They came out to play today. And for, I think, the coaching staff, they want to see those things. Even if this is perhaps the ideal midfield at the moment, you want to see these scenarios in which they can problem solve. And they got tested a bit. And I think that's a credit to Iceland and the way that they kind of fluctuated a bit. We saw how they rolled out. Maybe they were a little bit more defensive with 5 in the middle at times to sort of counteract some things. And we're going to get to the conceding of the goal, or maybe we saw some of those, the problem solving kind of not there for this trio. But I think early on, I think there was a little bit of a test there for this team. But I think the other side of that coin is that that's something that the coaching staff wants to see, that they embrace that. So I think throughout the remainder of the match, they sort of figure things out. I think maybe there's also a version here on the spectrum where we could say, did they get maybe bailed out by some of this incredible goal scoring by some of the teams?
That's a good topic of conversation, Sandra, because the first goal for the U.S. didn't come until the 39th minute. And it did come from Alyssa Thompson. She gets her first international goal, but there was 40 minutes or so, Darian, where these teams were almost feeling themselves out. I mean, Iceland is a team that can't be slept on. They have qualified for their 5th straight Euros. They are going there next year. They didn't have to qualify in this international window. That's why they were available. But in what ways did Iceland ask questions of the U.S.?
They were physical. They were so physical against the U.S. And I think it rocked some players' rhythm getting into this match. And the U.S. looked the the passing, I think in the first half for me was a little one-dimensional. There wasn't any big switches of the ball. When you looked how Iceland was lining up, they were trying to lock the US to one side. They were trying to be suffocating in that way. But if the ball was switched quickly, that's when things opened up. Or if they were moving the ball quickly enough to switch it, even if on the ground, it was working in the US's favor. And I don't think we saw anybody take dictatorship over that movement happening, over that ball movement, over switching the point of the attack. And to be honest, I think we saw some players that just aren't in the best form with the US right now. I mean, it's that time of the NWSL season, and even players that are playing overseas like Alyssa Thompson and Emily Fox, where it's you're getting into form of the regular season and Champions League and trying to, get your legs under yourself and get your body used to that cadence and rhythm of all of these games, and then traveling all the way here and playing. It's a lot. Some players are coming back from injury, and I think we saw those players that just, it almost was like some players were a step behind what
Who
I'm going to say. Lindsay Horan, Lynn Williams were two of the players that stuck out to me that were just behind what everyone else was trying to do. It looked like they weren't up to the cadence. I think Williams, she's been out for a bit with an injury. She didn't play and get minutes in her last match with Gotham, and then jumping into starting with the national team at this new level that the US plays at. It's a lot. And I don't know if that was the best for her confidence going into the rest of these matches, or let alone going back with Gotham. But I do think it's allowing space for other players to take advantage of it.
Should Lynn Williams not have started?
I understand why she did, because she was on the Olympic team, but I don't think for maybe where she's at and coming back from an injury, that was the best case scenario for her to feel confident going into a match.
And she ends up playing 70 minutes through this match too. It was interesting. You touched on Iceland's physicality, Darian. 17 fouls. It was physical for Iceland. It was a game plan, but it rocked the US at times. There was moments where the US had to figure out how to unlock different things. But specifically in the midfield, I was surprised to see that Lindsay Horan was so much higher than she was at the Olympics. This past summer, when the U.S. was pressing, it was typically Rose Lavelle who was so much higher trying to drive the press. And tonight for the U.S., it was Lindsay Horan in that position, with Swanson, Williams, Thompson, and then Lavelle being the other part of the attack. And the U.S. had a game plan in their pressure defensively, trying to pin Iceland in, because Iceland wanted to play. They wanted the ball on the ground. They wanted to build out, but it took probably 15, 20 minutes into the match for the US to realize those different pressure pockets defensively where they could trap the Iceland and then look to go. And the outlet wasn't always there. It took time for the US to really grow into this game. What do you think?
It took personnel change.
Yeah.
I think Sophia Smith, to me, when she came in, her hold-up play changed the dynamic of the game.
Darian's like, I'm just saying. But you know what? I don't disagree.
But they didn't have a hold-up game before she came in.
I do wonder if some of the build up to this game. I mean, there's the emphasis on the fact that these are the victory tour games. Like, there's that layer of like, how much is this first game affected by that, right? Like the players that you are selecting to start because of the celebrations that are in effect versus the tasks that you want to present your team and the tactics and the things that you want to give them to work on in the game. And like, maybe there's all of the above, right? The fact that this was the first game back as well had to be taken into consideration for this squad post Olympics. But I think when you're at this level, when you're sort of looked at as those sort of, like I mentioned earlier, that kind of ideal trio, or the ones who are likely going to be the examples, the starters, you want to get into these opportunities and deliver. And yes, we can point to all those other things before, but if it's not giving, you got to make that call, I think, as the coaching staff.
We're going to dig into this because there are a lot of questions here that need to be answered. Was it personnel all over the pitch? Was it not good enough from the U.S.? Did Iceland throw things off?